Hello and welcome, my love. I am excited to be here with you today, and I just recorded a video for you and then my battery died. So I decided that I'm going to take it a little bit shorter this time, but maybe more to the point, which is just perfection. So that is actually something that I want to invite you to in general. Like surrendering to what is, to letting it be what it is, and to find the pleasure in what is. So for those of you who I have not met before, for those of you who meet me, who see me here for the first time, my name is Viktoria and I'm the host of ORGASMIC, and my mission is to guide female leaders, female visionaries, female change makers, female entrepreneurs back into their essence, back into their power, for them to create business and life with pleasure, ease, effort, and in a very playful way. And of course, in the most limitless way possible. I thought that I am going to introduce myself because I actually have not done that yet. And I thought that I'm going to just share a little bit about my story. Because what I know for myself is the stories that really gives me an opening to experience myself deeper when I am, when there's another person sharing their story in connection with their work, in connection with their service. And it doesn't matter if it's like the flower lady who has that beautiful magical store, or if it's a coach I'm working with. We really want to connect, and it is through our personal stories that we're connecting. And those stories where people are creating the magic that you're experiencing are the stories where there is a human being that fell down over and over and over again. And out of that falling down, that person chose to not be defined by it. Instead, that person chose to remember the truth that she or he is infinite, that it is limitless. And with that being remembered, that person creates magic. Because that's what it is about. It's not all about the sparkle, the shiny stuff. That's what we want. But when we are experiencing magic through someone in front of us, through their product, through their service, it's the story that actually created that magic. Because the magic does not come from thinking about it. How can I create magic? How can I make this in this way? The magic is happening. The limitless is happening when we are really dropping into our essence, into our limitless self, into God, into source. When we are daring to be plugged in, to let go of control, and to just surrender, to be. And this is part of my mission, for you to be, because I know with your being, this is how you're creating the biggest impact in your life and those that you're touching. It's not through thinking, it's not through doing. It is mainly through being. And through being then in your essence, you are taking very different action. And this action then, or the results of the action that you're taking, the results actually of you choosing to be, becomes limitless, becomes effortless, and becomes very pleasurable. Because it's no longer about how it has to be done, about how it has to be. It's about you. It's about you being the muse of you making love with your creations. And this is what I'm standing for, to create the most extraordinary, the most exquisite, the most extravagant experience with yourself, with your business, and with your life, by stepping into your greatness, by owning all the magic that you are, by holding your power in those moments where you think you can't hold it anymore. Those are the moments that matter the most. Yes, it's about vibing high. It's about experiencing yourself in bliss, in ekstase, in love. But that other part is just as important, to hold yourself when the challenges are showing up in love. Experience bliss anyway, choosing pleasure anyway, no matter the pain. And that's the experience that I'm offering you, either in my one-on-one programs or in my mastermind experiences. Anyway, about me now. A little bit about my story. And as I just shared, I already started recording it and I went very much into detail, and then I was like, yeah, okay, so maybe this really is the reason why the recording stopped, or why my battery died, that I just gonna make it a little bit shorter, just for you for now to get an understanding who's actually behind the screen. Who is it actually? Who is that Viktoria Blüm? Whoa, what about her? What's the story behind her? And my story started some years ago when I was when my father unexpectedly died, and we did not have a very close, a very good relationship with one another. But it really broke me into pieces, because like right before his death, he actually decided to break up the contact. I did not know that he was sick. He took me out of his will. So the reason why I'm telling you this is that has been a pattern that I knew so well, not feeling good enough. And that pattern, you might know it. Most of us are actually operating from that state, and that state is called lack. And lack is something is wrong, something is missing. And that's the way I operated most of my life, that there's something wrong with me, that there's something that needs to be fixed, that there's something that needs to be done different, that I actually need to be different, that the way I am, it's just not enough. And it doesn't matter where I was on that journey. It was just like that ongoing pattern following me along, like underlying beneath, creeping in, no matter what I was doing. So then that pattern that showed up in my business, the way I made money in my finances, in my health, my relationship, in my partnership, it showed up everywhere, in every single area of my life at one point. And I just could not see it. I just could not see it. And I was just, even though I was doing a lot of personal development work, even though I was doing a lot of spiritual work, or I was connecting deeper with myself, understanding, like reprogramming myself, having it all, it did not matter. The underlying pattern was, I am not good enough. And that's what followed along. And this is what I'm observing a lot with a lot of you out there, that it doesn't matter. You're doing like that. You're doing your personal development work. You're doing like, you connect deeper. You have these spiritual practices to connect deeper with yourself. You're working with another mentor. You're doing another program. But what's beneath is lack, that you're not good enough. And this is my mission, to remind you that you are perfection in every moment. To experience yourself fully, orgasmically, ecstatically, being you with all that is. And when I'm saying with all that is, I mean the full spectrum. As I just said, yes, we all want that bliss. We all want that love. We all want that. But those of us who are really experiencing it are those who are able to hold ourselves when the shit is hitting the fan. When we still manage to love ourselves, no matter what's happening out there, no matter if everything is falling apart, loving ourselves. And this has been one key on my journey, love. And it is one of the key ingredients for you to create that extraordinary life that is beyond anything that you can dream of, that you can even think of. Love is such an essential component. Love for yourself, love for what is, and loving to life what you truly want to experience. Anyway, my journey started some years ago, as I just shared, with the death of my father. Around the time, there's been a lot of death involved in my life. A dear friend of mine, she passed away as well, and another friend passed away. So I've just been facing these losses, the grief, and a little bit after. So that made me actually start thinking, okay, what's life about? Honestly, like, what's life about? Like living like that, like doing a job. At the time, I was working a corporate job. Doing something that there's no excitement, there's no pleasure, there's no joy, there's no like just going there every day doesn't make sense. So then I remembered my friend Gale, who has been a big inspiration like on my journey for many years. She's just that she was just that sunshine, like her energy, her vibe was just always high. It was just who she was. And I had those two examples, my friend Gale, like full of life, full of color, full of expression, intense. Some people loved her, others did not like her at all, too much. And then the opposite, my dad, like living a very, like in my eyes, a very miserable life, like full of suffering. Anyway, I was like, I want that as well. Like I want what she had. Even though she had a very short life, like that life seemed full of life and full of color and full of pleasure and joy. I want that too. Okay. A little later, my little brother, he had a drug-induced psychosis. So that was like cracking me, or like breaking me even further apart. That idea of seeing him, or not that idea, like seeing him in this kind of state. And anyway, he's doing well right now. I will share about that whole journey because it's a big piece on my own journey, but also on the journey for us as a family. It has been very challenging, and it has been a very, very, very beautiful way. Beautiful. It has been a way for us to really hold our power, for us to really remember what it all is about. Coming together as one, holding each other, guiding each other out of that. And we did that very beautifully. Anyway, mental disease, as I said before, the death was one part, and then the mental disease was another part. Like a lot of like mental disease going on in my closed environment. My brother, that was like the big stuff, that was really intense. But then on the other hand, also other family members with depression or burnout or I don't know, eating disorder, all kind of stuff, like my close family. And of course I observed myself as well in a very similar state of like feeling depressed, like feeling like having these states where I just feel very, very high on life, loving life, in bliss and ecstasy. But then I also knew those other parts, like where I just felt like, okay, who the fuck am I? Anyway, so mental disease is something that I know pretty well in all different kind of forms. So that has also been a very important part in my life, in my life, or on this journey over the last few years, of really like understanding that it's ourselves who is creating all of that, and whatever it is that we're creating, we can create the complete opposite. So this year, I'm jumping a little bit between timelines, but last year I had like a phase where if I would have gone to a doctor, I probably would have gotten some medication to kind of like get myself into balance. But I chose not to. I chose to really guide myself through it, because I knew that there is a lot of gold waiting there for me once I just go through it. So last year I experienced a very dark phase, and I am very, very amazed, very much in awe of how I got out of it. And that's something that I want to remind you of. It's always about who you're becoming, no matter what's going on out there. It's always about who you're becoming. But what is important on the journey of becoming, that you're choosing what you actually want to experience, that you're choosing the experience. And everything that comes along is showing up for you to build up your power, to hold even more, to hold that greatness, to hold that limitless life. You think you can hold it right now in that state? Probably not, otherwise it would already be there. Anyway, so then another big part on my journey, besides the death, besides the mental disease, besides the underlying feeling of lack of never being good enough, never feeling good enough, another big part was my business. I started my business in a very, very different state of mind. I quit my corporate job out of nowhere. I was in Bali. I received that nudge, that soul nudge, quit your job. I did that. I came back. I quit my job and I just started. I was still in the middle of my coaching training. Back then I did a mindfulness-based systemic coaching training, and I quit. I was like, I'm gonna do it. I'm all in. I'm gonna do it. But I started listening to everybody around me who kind of told me, like, it's never gonna work. Like, all the fear around business, all the fear, like, you're not gonna make it, like, it's unsafe and you can't pay your bills and all those kind of things. My family, both parts, from my mother and from my father, they were both business families. So they both had their business, and there was a lot of like different kind of struggle going on. So that's somehow something that I just like experienced completely, like all the struggle again. And somehow at that point where I felt like I am not enough, that was just like feeding that feeling of I'm not enough. So then I started my business. I worked with different coaches who told me exactly what I have to do to make that business work. So I was kind of running after success. I was running after clients. I was chasing it. I was doing it the way they told me to do it. To realize it's just not working. To realize that I'm just in another like construct that I actually chose to get out of. So I kept working on myself, on my business, but it was just never enough. And that's the whole thing that I experienced the last few years. Running behind success, running behind clients, running behind money. And I just did not get the results that I wanted to experience. And I thought it's about the money, I thought it's about the clients, I thought it's about the business. But all the while, it was about me. And that's what it actually is about. It's always about you. And that pattern, as I said it before, as I share it again, because I know a lot of us actually resonate with that, was I am not good enough. Lack consciousness. Even though, honestly, I was feeling well. I was like connected to source. My heart was wide open. But beneath that, I was experiencing pleasure. I was like, yeah, feeling myself. But beneath that, there was that ongoing frequency. You're not good enough, or I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough. What else can I do? What else can I do to make it work? So I made problems where there actually was no problem. And this is what we love doing. We love to fix problems. We love to figure out what's wrong with us, what's wrong with our business, what's wrong with our money account, what's wrong with our health. This is lack consciousness. And this is how most of us are actually operating day after day from a state of lack. And then last year, when I hit the bottom, when I had that many dark nights of the soul, I also had a lot of very touching experiences. So that's something that I want to remind you of. No matter where you are, no matter what's going on in your life, you can always have it both, the dark and the light. And I want you to open up for the light as well. I want you to open up to experience bliss and love and ease and pleasure, no matter what. So then last year was a big turning point for me because it all crumbled down. Everything just fell apart. My relationship, my life in Mexico, my business, my finances, my relationships, my friendships, everything, just my health, everything just crumbled down. And there I was, loving myself no matter what. And that was the deepest love that I ever experienced. Loving myself when there was loving myself unconditionally, when there was no reason, no obvious reason. There was nothing left to love myself. And this was the thing that we're actually looking for, that unconditional love for ourselves. And what I noticed on my journey over the last few years, we love to make things very complicated. We love to make things very, very complicated. A few weeks ago, my whole life changed. And it was very simple. It was very simple. I was like, I'm done with that. I'm tired of that the way it is. I want ease. I want ease. I want it now. So I started then to choose what I want now. To stop postponing it, because that's what we're really good at as well. And I started to choose it now. I started to choose myself now the way I wanted to experience myself, without all that bullshit going on, in the most limitless way. And then I just started experiencing myself that way. So in the end, it was that simple. Of course, I have been going around. Of course, I have been going, having been on my journey over the last few years with a lot of dark phases, with a lot of light phases. But in the end, if there's one thing that I can tell you right now, I want you to choose ease. I want you to choose pleasure. I want you to choose that it's fast. And believe me, everything starts to shift very quickly. And no, you don't have to figure out what's wrong, because there is nothing wrong. No, there's no problem. There's just a potential. I want you to assume that that which you desire is already fulfilled. And I want you to connect. And I want you to assume that you are that person that is already experiencing that desire. And I want you to really feel that person that already exists right now. Because the thing is, the only moment exists is now. So why not experiencing yourself right now, in depth, in ecstasy, in love, when you can just choose it? Why wouldn't you just choose it? And I know it sounds very simple, and in the end it is very simple. But this is how you're going to shift your experience with yourself and with life. Very, very deeply and very, very profoundly. And no, it's not bypassing. It's just giving yourself the permission to experience yourself this way. And yes, there will be challenges. And yes, there will be bumps. And yes, there will be moments where you're like freaking out. And again, those are the moments that matter. Those are the moments where you are building your power. When you recognize that this is just not the truth. When you give yourself the permission to feel it all, to be it all. And trust me, you can experience yourself in the most limitless, most pleasurable, most effortless way. Because it's all about you. You experiencing you, you falling madly in love with you, you making love with you in your life and your business and whatever it is that you want to make love with. But giving yourself the allowance to be in deep pleasure. And if you're ready for that journey, it's very deep, it's very touching, and it's very intimate. And everything is possible when you're choosing you. When you're choosing to experience yourself in this way, everything is possible. There are no limits. But you gotta really drop into you, into your essence, to remember your power. Choose your power, claim it now. And if you feel called to go on the journey with me, you know where to find me. Thank you for being here, and thank you for listening. And there will be more, because I know how much it matters. And I know how much you matter, and how much more you're actually capable of doing when you stop trying to reason with your mind, and when you start listening to your soul, when you start listening to those nudges, and just follow courageously. It's all working for you, always. Always. And you will experience magic and wonders that you could not even think about. And that's what I wish. That's what I wish you to experience. The magic and the wonder and the pleasure and the ease and anything else that you're longing for. But therefore, you have to go for it. You have to go for it. You have to choose it. You have to choose you every moment.